Hey everybody, welcome back to Rusty Wrench Restorations. I'm Steve and we got a lot of work to do today. So as you can see behind me, I have my 1945 International TD-6 crawler on the trailer. It's back here at the house, but it's still not quite here yet. It's basically a 7,200 pound paperweight sitting on my trailer. So I've got my buddy Brian coming over today. He's got a lot larger Kubota tractor than I do with Bozo, and he's going to help me get it unloaded and try to get it moved up on the side yard of my house. So hopefully later in the video we can kind of go over the tractor, get some video of it, what it looks like, kind of what it needs, what the plan is, and some of the interesting characteristics of it. So let's get to work and make it happen. Alright everybody, it's the next day and we've got this thing unloaded. Let the dust settle for a little bit. Just wanted to kind of give you a quick little video about what I got going on, what the plan is and all that. So as always, I've already started ordering manuals and everything for it. This is the original service manual for it. This is an original brochure for it. It covers the TD-6, 9, 14, and 18. It's pretty cool. There's so many cool pictures in here. I love reading all this stuff. I can't wait to make this thing look like that. Anyway, being the newbie to these international crawlers, I wanted the original parts books for everything, and I found out that this is for the 62 series and this is for the 61 series of said tractor. This one is a standard version. It's the original. It's one of the earlier ones. And at some point, I don't know because this is all new to me, they switched over to the 61 series and then eventually the 62 series, and I think this is just I think it's a 6-cylinder diesel engine. I don't even think it has That's 6-cylinder. I'm not sure about this one here, but anyway, I won't waste your time with that. So I got new books ordered, new original books. So if anybody needs a operator's manual for a TD-6 61 or parts for a 62, let me know. I got them here for you. Alright, so we got it moved up here. One of the cool things that I did want to show you is on the back of this tank, you can still see the remnants of where it said International Tractor. Right here, tractor. Now, I always thought that the original international crawlers before this series, I believe it was like the 1020 and like the 1530, those were tractors. That was just the name they coined for it. And I didn't know that it went into this TD series. Here we still got the original TD-6. It says International Diesel here. I know the front's been painted at some point because it's got International in 2 spots. But this back tank and fender area, I believe, is all original. I don't know if that's screen print or what, but anyway, I didn't know the tractor carried over that far. I looked online, it said through the mid-40s, which is exactly what this is, 1945. So the decal kit I've already ordered for it didn't come with the tractor decal for the back, so I did that. Did get one of those as well to add to it. So like I said, I told you I'd kind of go over the basics of this thing, and I already tried to record this once and it was over a half-hour long, and I know you don't want to hear me talk that long, so I'm just going to kind of go over it quickly, and as we start working on this thing, you'll see more of it. So back here, there's a 32-gallon diesel tank, and up here in the front, under this cover, there's a little 2/3 gallon fuel tank. So to start this thing, there's 2 levers here. This is your gas diesel conversion lever, and then this lever back is your basically throttle for the diesel and the injection pump. Those would be in the back position. Obviously the gear shifter and neutral, like anytime you start anything else. So this tractor is a 4-cylinder gas start diesel engine. So on this left side here, you can see there's a carburetor. It's a single speed. There's no throttle or anything for it. There is a choke lever here, but it's a single speed gas carburetor. This intake manifold has butterflies for the fuel and for the diesel. Here's a gas filter for your fuel system. This one has the regular distributor with rotor cap. It used to have a magneto originally, but anyway, it starts on gas. So you start it. There's a let's see if we can get in here. Down there on the bottom, that's the you push that foot button and that engages your starter, so the engine would start on gas. Once the engine's ran for a minute or 2, 3 if it's cold, I guess, got up to temp, you'd want to switch it to diesel. So you'd take your conversion lever, move it forward, and give yourself some throttle on your injection pump. So this is the diesel side. There's a fuel filter, there's a sediment bowl down there. It's really hard to see, I know the lighting's tough. Coming from the tank, you've got inline primary and auxiliary filters, your diesel injection pump, up to your injectors. And I know the lighting in here is crazy, it's hard to see, but anyway, you get it running on diesel, you do what you need to do for the day. At the end of the day, you come back, you throttle down on your injection pump, and you switch this back to gas. You let it run on gas to help cool it off, and you shut it down. You shut it down either by, you can secure the fuel at your sediment bowl, or if you move this diesel gas conversion lever back forward, it's going to basically close those decompression valves, and the compression, higher compression, just stop the engine. However it is you shut it off, this conversion valve, I keep calling it conversion valve, I don't know if that's right. You want to leave that forward in the diesel position, so that as those decompression valves cool, they're spring loaded against their seat so they don't warp. So anyway, that's the starting and stopping process of it. It does not have a foot clutch, it has a hand clutch. So if you want to shift gears, it's got five forward and 1 reverse. Now they did make a special transmission for this where you could swap out that 3rd gear for a high-speed reverse. So you'd have 1, 2, 4, and 5, and then you'd have reverse, and 3 would be a high-speed reverse, which I thought was kind of interesting. Anyway, instead of a foot clutch, it's a hand clutch, but I, being a John Deere guy, am used to pushing my clutch forward and snapping it in to get it in gear. International is backwards. And of course the international guys will say John Deere is backwards, but you're gonna pull the hand clutch back and it snaps in on the gear. Alright, so this is disengaged forward. It's kind of awkward off to the side here. So forward is disengaged, where John Deere forward would be engaged. And then you're gonna pull it back, it engages, and then it snaps in. So now you're locked in. And that's the drive clutch, so the engine to the transmission. Leave that disengaged. So the other difference, John Deere, this is my left steering clutch. You can see there's absolutely no tension. The right one still has good spring pressure, so hopefully we'll be good. But anyway, the John Deere crawlers, if you want to steer left, you'd pull this lever back a little bit, and it would disengage the steering clutch with a throw-up bearing, and it would allow this left track to basically just like freewheel or spin freely like it's in neutral. If you wanted to make a sharper turn, you would continue pulling back further, and it was like a two-stage system. It would engage a brake band in the the left final drive and lock the track up to make it, you know, turn a lot quicker or sharper. Basically, if you wanted to kind of turn on yourself. So this setup is a little bit different. These steering levers only disengage the clutch. So if you're making your left turn, you pull it all the way back and it disengages that clutch. Same thing, allows that left track to just kind of free spin, and it will turn just slowly and gradually. If you want to make a sharper turn while you're pulling back on that left steering lever, then you also want to hit that left brake. So it's got a brake for each side. So like my old Lindemann crawler, you kind of need to be an octopus to operate this thing, because you've got your 2-foot brakes, your shifter, your throttle for your diesel, your gas diesel conversion, your hand clutch, your steering clutches. There's a PTO lever around here somewhere. I need to look for that. Who even knows, but there's a PTO lever there somewhere because it's got a PTO shaft. But anyway, yeah, it's going to take a lot of getting used to. Lots of things different from the John Deere crawlers that I'm used to. But like I said, this has been kind of a bucket list tractor for me, and I've been wanting to get one of these for a few years now. Not necessarily a TD-6. I always wanted a T4, which is a gas version. It's a little bit smaller. I think the newer T4s were like the 340s. But anyway, this is it. It doesn't come without its surprises. You know, I was told this was driven into a barn and parked, and it was running, driving, no issues. Now, obviously, things like this with wiring, I get it. It's been sitting. There's probably rodents eating at that, but this manifold's loose up here. This intake is loose up here. Yeah, I looked down here. This is your track adjustment. So basically, if you wanted it, like these tracks are all loose right now. If I wanted to tighten the track adjustment, this nut here is supposed to have an ear on each side, on 2 of them, with a bolt that goes through. Well, they're both broken off. So I'm gonna have to make and weld a new ear on here. So there should be 2 bolts there. You'd take those out, and then this is kind of like a locking collar that locks onto these threads. So you'd loosen this up, and then you'd get a wrench and turn this threaded rod in or out to push the idler forward to tighten the track, or back to loosen it. Once you got it to where you wanted it to be, you would line these ears up, put these bolts in, and then tighten up this clamp. Well, like I said, this side it's got 2 of the ears, both ears are missing, and the other side 1 of them is. So I got some work to do there. I don't really know how they operated it like that. I guess you could. There's just a chance that the little pin that's in here could come out of this collar. I don't know. Obviously the undercarriage has seen better days. The rails on this are super thin. I mean, they're pretty clapped out. And I even noticed this morning. I got a crack in one of them here. That's the only one I see. So I'm hoping I can clean that up and weld it and just run with it. It is what it is. This top idler cap is wrong. There's supposed to be 3 bolts in here. This is from a different, it's probably a 61 or 62 series. And the bolts are a little different. So these 2 are in, but this one is sticking off to the side, and there's like a lip on here. And I'm sure this is adding to where it's just tearing up the bottoms of these bushings. Now there is one roller down here, this back one, that seems to be sitting a little bit lower than the other ones. So that could be cause of that too. outside bushing rail wear. But I don't know, the thing's, how old is it? It's from 1945. I mean, it's got some age on it. What do you expect? So anyway, glad to have it here. Looking forward to the project. My end goal is to hopefully get this thing completely fully restored to look like that. But we got to see what we're dealing with here first. So obviously I want to try to get the engine running, at least on gas, and then eventually on diesel. I mean, I might have to go through and do the injection pump, who knows. I've already ordered, you know, gaskets for the carburetor, the intake, the exhaust, all things I know I'm going to need to replace to get it running. But I don't want to dump any more into it than I need until I know it's going to run and drive. I'm not even going to worry about this left steering clutch until the engine's driving and I know this thing can move itself backwards and forwards. Once it does that, we'll pull all this stuff off in the back and get that steering clutch yanked out of there, and hopefully we'll have a good machine that's worthy of getting stripped back down and get some clean paint on it. So anyway, that's where I'm at with the TD-6. So hopefully you'll enjoy this series, and looking forward to restoring my first International Harvester crawler. Alright, thanks for the support. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It's absolutely free, and we'll catch you in the next one.